Somewhere in Tijuana, Mexico, a man is losing his mind. The sun has set. The streets are alive with noise and neon lights. Music pours from every doorway. Strangers bump against him as he stumbles through crowded bars. The smell of tequila and sweat fills the air. His vision is blurring. His thoughts are racing faster than he can process them. His name is Barret Robbins. And in less than 18 hours, he is supposed to play in the biggest football game on planet Earth. Super Bowl 2002, the Oakland Raiders versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 138 million people will watch. His teammates are in their hotel rooms preparing. His coaches are finalizing game plans. His family is waiting to witness his greatest moment. But Barret Robbins is not in San Diego with his team. He is in another country, drinking, spiraling, disappearing into a darkness that nobody around him understands. His massive frame moves through the crowd like a ghost that does not belong in this world. His phone is ringing. He ignores it. His coaches are searching for him. He does not care. His entire career is slipping away with every drink he swallows. And the worst part is this. Barret Robbins has no idea what is happening to his own brain. This is not a story about a selfish athlete who abandoned his team. This is a story about a man whose mind betrayed him at the worst possible moment. And what happened after that night is even more terrifying than the disappearance itself. Before we reach that hotel room in San Diego, before we follow Barret into the streets of Tijuana, you need to understand something important. Barret Robbins was not some backup player. He was not a replaceable piece on the roster. He was not a man whose absence would go unnoticed. He was the best center in professional football. The Raiders selected him in the second round of the 1995 NFL Draft out of Texas Christian University. From the moment he arrived in Oakland, coaches recognized something special in this young man. Barret was massive, 6 feet 3 inches tall. 320 pounds muscle and aggression. His body was built for violence in the trenches. His hands could control defensive linemen like puppets. His legs could drive 300-pound men backward into the dirt. But his physical gifts were only part of the equation. His mind was equally impressive. The center position requires intelligence that casual fans never appreciate. Before every single play, the center must read the defensive alignment. He must identify blitzes before they happen. He must recognize the most dangerous pass rusher on the field. He must communicate blocking assignments to 4 other offensive linemen in a matter of seconds. One mistake means the quarterback gets destroyed. One miscommunication means the play fails before it begins. Barret did this better than anyone in the league. Quarterback Rich Gannon trusted him completely. The running backs followed the holes he created. The entire Raiders offense flowed through his decisions. He was the brain that controlled the body. By 2002, Barret had earned Pro Bowl recognition. He was considered the anchor of one of the most explosive offenses in professional football. Teammates looked to him for leadership. Coaches built their schemes around his abilities. The Raiders finished that season with 11 wins and 5 losses. They demolished the New York Jets in the divisional round. They crushed the Tennessee Titans in the AFC Championship. Super Bowl 2002 awaited, and Barret Robbins was supposed to be the foundation upon which victory would be built. Nobody could have predicted what was coming. Not his teammates, not his coaches, not even Barret himself.
The Super Bowl matchup was already unusual before any player took the field. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were coached by John Gruden. The same John Gruden who had coached the Oakland Raiders just 1 year earlier. The same John Gruden who had been traded away in a controversial deal that still angered many Raiders fans. Gruden knew the Raiders' offense intimately. He had designed much of it himself. He had worked with these players for 4 seasons. He understood their tendencies, their weaknesses, their audible signals, their formations. Every secret the Raiders possessed was already known by the opposing sideline. The Raiders were walking into a trap designed by someone who knew them better than they knew themselves. But even with that disadvantage, Oakland believed they could win. Their offense was explosive beyond measure. Rich Gannon had just won the League Most Valuable Player award. Their weapons were dangerous across every position on the field. And at the center of it all, literally and figuratively, was Barret Robbins. Without him, the protection schemes would collapse. Without him, the run blocking would suffer. Without him, the communication between linemen would break down at the worst moments. The Raiders needed Barret Robbins more than almost any player on their roster, which makes what happened next even more devastating to understand. Saturday night, January 25th, 2003. The Raiders are staying at a hotel in San Diego. Super Bowl 2022 is less than 24 hours away. The tension is thick in every hallway. Players are trying to sleep despite the electricity running through their veins. Curfew has been established. Players are expected in their rooms. Final preparations are underway. Barret Robbins is nowhere to be found. At first, coaches assume he stepped out briefly. Perhaps he needed air. Perhaps he was handling personal business. Perhaps he would return any minute with a simple explanation. Hours pass. Phone calls go unanswered. His room remains empty. His bed remains untouched. By midnight, panic begins spreading through the Raiders organization. Their starting center, their Pro Bowl anchor, their irreplaceable leader has vanished without any explanation. Search parties are organized. Staff members check hospitals. Police are contacted. Nobody can locate Barret Robbins. Meanwhile, 40 minutes south of San Diego, Barret Robbins is crossing the border into Tijuana, Mexico. He is not thinking clearly. His brain is flooded with chemicals that are pushing him toward destruction. Every rational thought is being drowned by impulses he cannot control. He finds bars. He finds alcohol. He finds strangers who have no idea they are drinking with a man who should be preparing for the Super Bowl. The drinking continues through the night, shot after shot, bar after bar. His phone keeps ringing. He keeps ignoring it. Somewhere in the fog of his mind, he knows he should go back. He knows that something is terribly wrong, but the part of his brain that makes rational decisions has stopped functioning. He's experiencing a manic episode, and he does not even know it. Bipolar disorder is a cruel condition that destroys lives without warning. During manic phases, the brain becomes convinced that everything is possible. Judgment disappears completely. Consequences feel irrelevant. Impulses become commands that cannot be refused. Sleep becomes unnecessary. Reality becomes distorted. Decisions that would horrify the person during stable periods seem perfectly reasonable. During depressive phases, the opposite occurs. Darkness consumes everything. Simple tasks become impossible mountains. The will to continue evaporates like water on hot pavement. Life itself feels like a punishment. Barret Robbins had been living with this condition for years.
But nobody had diagnosed it. Not the team doctors, not his personal physicians, not his coaches or teammates or family members. Not a single person in his life had recognized what was happening inside his brain. Everyone around him saw the symptoms without understanding the cause. Mood swings that seemed extreme, periods of intense energy followed by periods of complete withdrawal, behavior that occasionally seemed irrational or out of character, decisions that puzzled the people closest to him. They attributed it to personality, to the pressure of professional football, to the stress of being an elite athlete in a violent sport. Nobody recognized that his brain chemistry was fundamentally different from normal. Nobody understood that without proper medication and treatment, episodes like the one unfolding in Tijuana were inevitable. Barret Robbins was not a selfish man abandoning his team. He was a sick man whose illness had finally exploded at the worst possible moment in his entire life. Sunday morning arrives with cruel sunshine. Super Bowl Sunday, the day every professional football player dreams about reaching. Barret Robbins finally resurfaces. He returns to the team hotel looking disheveled, exhausted, clearly not himself. His eyes are bloodshot, his movements are unsteady. The smell of alcohol clings to his massive frame. Head coach Bill Callahan faces an impossible decision. His starting center has missed curfew, has missed team meetings, has been drinking all night in another country. is clearly in no condition to play football at the highest level against the best competition. But this is the Super Bowl, the biggest game any of these men will ever play, the moment they have worked their entire lives to reach. Callahan makes the only decision he can make. Barret Robbins is deactivated. He will not dress for the game. He will not stand on the sideline with his teammates. He will watch from somewhere else as the Raiders take the field without him. The news spreads through the locker room like a shockwave that nobody can absorb. Players are stunned, confused, angry, heartbroken. Some cannot even process what they are hearing. Their leader is gone. Their anchor has vanished. The man they trusted to protect Rich Gannon and open holes for the running game will not be there when they need him most. And they must somehow find a way to win anyway. Super Bowl 2002 begins under bright Florida sunshine. From the opening moments, everything goes wrong for Oakland. Jon Gruden knows every signal, every audible, every tendency, every formation. The Raiders' offense is completely transparent to the Tampa Bay defense. Nothing is a surprise. Nothing catches them off guard. Rich Gannon throws an interception, then another, then another. Tampa Bay's defense returns 3 intercepted points for the opponent. 3 times, the scoreboard explodes against Oakland. The final score is 48-20. Barret Robbins watches from somewhere, unable to help, unable to change what is happening, unable to stand beside the men who needed him. His absence alone did not cause this loss. Gruden's knowledge of the offense was devastating regardless. The turnovers were catastrophic beyond any single player's impact.
But the questions linger forever. Would the protection have been better with Barret at center? Would the running game have found more success? Would the communication have prevented some of the breakdowns that led to turnovers? Nobody will ever know the answers. What everyone does know is that Barret Robbins missed the biggest game of his life because of something nobody fully understood. And his suffering was only beginning. The Raiders released Barret Robbins after the Super Bowl incident. His NFL career was effectively over. No team wanted the risk. No organization trusted that he could be relied upon when it mattered most. The phone stopped ringing. The opportunities disappeared. The diagnosis finally came: bipolar disorder. The explanation for everything that had confused people for years. The answer that arrived far too late to save his career. But the diagnosis alone could not save him from himself. Barret struggled with medication. He struggled with the transition out of football. He struggled with an identity that had been stripped away overnight. Everything he had built since childhood was gone, and he made terrible decisions. In 2005, Barret was involved in a violent altercation with police officers in Miami Beach. He fought with multiple officers. His massive frame, the same body that had dominated NFL defensive linemen, was now being used against law enforcement. The confrontation escalated until something unthinkable happened. A police officer shot Barret Robbins 3 times. 3 bullets entered his body. He collapsed on the streets of Miami Beach, bleeding, fading, dying. He should have died that night. Somehow, he survived. The surgeries were extensive. The recovery was brutal and painful beyond description. But Barret Robbins did not die. He was given another chance that most people never receive. Prison time followed the shooting. Barret spent years incarcerated for the assault on police officers. Behind bars, stripped of everything, he finally had time to confront the demons that had been chasing him since before the Super Bowl. He accepted his diagnosis fully. He committed to treatment without resistance. He began understanding the disease that had stolen his career and nearly stolen his life. The medication stabilized his brain chemistry. The therapy helped him understand his patterns. The time alone forced him to reckon with everything that had happened. When he was released, Barret Robbins faced a choice that every person in recovery must face. He could disappear into shame and silence forever, or he could use his story to help others who were suffering the same way. He chose to speak.
Today, Barret Robbins talks openly about mental health to anyone who will listen. He shares his story with brutal honesty: the Tijuana night, the missed Super Bowl, the shooting, the prison time, the diagnosis that came too late to save his career, but early enough to save his life. He tells young athletes that their brains can betray them without warning. He tells them that asking for help is not weakness, but courage. He tells them that symptoms should not be ignored or attributed to personality flaws. He has become an advocate for something far more important than football ever was. He has become a voice for the millions of people suffering from conditions that nobody around them understands.
Every time Barret Robbins tells his story, there is a chance that someone in the audience will recognize their own struggles. There is a chance that a parent will notice warning signs in their child. There is a chance that a coach will respond differently to unusual behavior. There is a chance that a life will be saved because one man refused to stay silent about his worst moments. That is the legacy Barret Robbins is building now. Not the Super Bowl he missed, not the career that collapsed, but the lives that might be saved because he had the courage to speak. Sometimes late at night, Barret Robbins thinks about what could have happened. What if someone had diagnosed his bipolar disorder in college? What if the Raiders had recognized the warning signs and gotten him treatment? What if the manic episode had happened during a regular season game instead of the Super Bowl? What if he had received help before everything fell apart? The questions have no answers. He cannot go back. He cannot change the night he crossed into Tijuana. He cannot undo the choices his broken brain pushed him toward. All he can do is move forward. All he can do is use the pain for something meaningful. All he can do is hope that his suffering prevents someone else from suffering the same way. The next time someone mentions Super Bowl 2002, most people will talk about John Gruden's revenge. They will talk about Rich Gannon's 5 interceptions. They will talk about the Tampa Bay defense dominating from start to finish. Almost nobody will mention Barret Robbins. He has become a ghost in that story, a footnote that gets skipped, a name that casual fans do not recognize. But his story matters more than the final score ever could, because Barret Robbins represents something that affects millions of people who will never play professional football. He represents the person whose brain turns against them without warning, the person who makes catastrophic decisions during episodes they cannot control, the person whose illness masquerades as character flaws until the damage is already done. He missed the biggest game of his life because he was sick. Not selfish, not weak, not careless. Sick. And the fact that nobody recognized it until too late should haunt everyone who watched him fall. Mental illness does not wait for convenient moments. It does not care about Super Bowls or careers or legacies. It strikes whenever the chemistry fails, and it destroys whatever stands in its path without mercy. Barret Robbins lost everything to this disease, but he survived, and survival, in the end, is the only victory that truly matters.